All right, welcome. So glad you could make it back to your unique devotion. Or maybe this is your first time and you just found us. So, today, what I'm going to do is continue the first book of John, chapter 4, verses 17 through 19. We're actually just finishing up this book. So, that means for you newcomers, tomorrow, what I'll do is read through the book of First John chapter 5, and we'll just use that as an ingestion day. Just sort of take it in a little bit, sort of search out the words, see what's going on. Then we'll go back and we'll break it down section to section. Okay? But today, we're going to read the section, the Consummation of Love. So here we go. Love has been perfected among us in this, that we may have boldness in the day of judgment, because as he is, so are we in the world. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, because fear involves torment. But he who fears has not been made perfect in love. We love him because he first loved us. So if you didn't guess it, the word fear really stood out, and boldness. In order to overcome our fears, we need to be bold. And boldness should feel like something strong, like a pillar, almost like stepping forward and putting your chest out, like, I'm being bold. It's kind of a show of strength, not a show of power, okay? Power can sometimes be confused with putting others down, or there's a dark side to power. But boldness doesn't really have that dark side to it. It's just a strength of moving forward. So the question is, out of fear, what do you fear? The obvious is, maybe scary movies, the dark, maybe spiders, snakes, those are some obvious fears, I'm sure. Everyone can point one out that they at least had one as a child. For me, it was the dark, okay? So I was kind of fearful of the dark. I'd pull the covers all the way up to my ears. But what about the ones that aren't so obvious? Those are the ones we need to work through. And communicating with God on that and careful prayer can help us to discern that, because sometimes we're just not aware of things that are going on in the background processes of our minds. So I have 3. Taking the next step. We all should have some kind of goals in life, not just wandering through. And maybe we've accomplished most of them and now we're in a comfortable place, and that's okay. But what about taking the next step? Sometimes there is a goal that we want to accomplish, and we know that we should probably be there, but taking that first step is so difficult, and it's only because of fear. Something's stopping you. And you have to search through your life a little bit. First of all, figure out what goal is standing out in your mind right now, and then be honest with yourself. What is actually stopping you? It might be more than one thing. But once you can face that, know those things, it's easier to figure out steps to maybe overcome it. Maybe you need someone to help you with that. Maybe you need to journal or write things down. Work out a plan. Write out a plan of how you're going to attack it, and then follow it. There's different ways that work for different people. Let's go to the next one. What about loving others? What's so fearful about loving others? What's stopping you from loving someone? Just because they're treating you nice, it's easy to love them and be open to them. But what about the ones that aren't so nice, that put you off, that make you irritated or frustrated? What in that situation is actually stopping you from loving them? Because they're not the enemy. They're not the enemy. So if you remove them from being the enemy and say, all right, they're being jerks for some reason. Why are they? Maybe there's something else going on. How can I love them to just help them calm down? Stop that cycle, okay? Um, and stop that fear at the same time. As soon as you do that, as soon as you start loving, you stop that fear. Okay? let's move on to the next one. Now, specifics are very difficult. What about yourself? What about what's stopping you about being yourself? What is it that you fear inside of you that's stopping you from just being who you are, from being who God wants you to be? You know, the world is pushing in, and for me, growing up, a lot of times looking back, I was really just trying to fit in. I was just trying to do what the rest of the world was doing because I was so afraid of just being myself that I wouldn't be accepted, that I wouldn't be allowed to just be who I was. And whenever I would try to be that, someone usually had a smart comment or looked at me funny or told me that's not how we act. You know, but there was really nothing wrong with what I was doing. I wasn't hurting anyone. I wasn't putting anyone down. I wasn't being a jerk. I was just being my normal video self, just like this. And people wouldn't get it. Or even just trying to explain something to someone, they'd often move off in distance, and it would put me off because I'm like, well, if people aren't going to listen to me, then why should I be myself? That's not true. That's all fear. That's something trying to stop me from being who I am. When you start to overcome that, people may listen, may not. Who cares? It's part of why this channel is here. It's for me to be open to God, to communicate outward, to be myself, and build some outward communication with Him, not just thinking it in my mind. Help by words clarify what I'm thinking. And hopefully at the same time, some subscribers, some people come across it, watch a video, and I hope it helps. So, what do you fear? I'm sure you can come up with some other scenarios maybe in your life, and search that out today. Search out your fears today. Face them. And then tomorrow we'll do something different, okay? I hope that God gives you all the blessings you deserve, and even more so, all the blessings you don't deserve. Have a wonderful day. Don't be scared. I'll see you tomorrow.